Hi, Urban Forestry Committee. This is the September 2024 meeting of the Urban Forestry Committee. So pursuant to the acts of Chapter 2 of 2023, this meeting will be held remotely. And we are today, Thursday, September 19th. My name is Tori Antonino. I'm going to chair today, and I'd like now to go around the room, so to speak, and have Urban Forestry Committee members introduce themselves. Alphabetical order by first name, and not Chris. Oh, gosh.
Is that me? I'll go.
Correct, that's right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Breck Miller. I'm the city tree warden.
Hi, everyone. I'm Calla Taylor. I'm a student at Somerville High School, and I'm a youth member for the Urban Forestry Committee.
Good evening. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I am before Dorothy. Yeah. Sorry, I always get confused with Dorothy. Hello, my name is Doris. I am a climate resiliency engineer and arborist, and I'm a community member for Somerville.
Hi, my name's Dorothy Supet. I'm a Somerville resident and a tree enthusiast.
Marion.
I guess so hi, I'm Marion Davis. I'm a member of the committee and a tree enthusiast and a native plant lover.
Hello, my name is Michael Hendricks. I use he, him pronouns. I live in Somerville, obviously, a tree enthusiast. My day job is in carbon accounting and related ESG stuff, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm Vanessa Bukili, Senior Urban Forestry and Landscape Planner for the city. Love trees.
And I'm Tori Antonino. I'm the co-chair of the Urban Forestry Committee, along with Leah Grossman, who will be joining us promptly. What I would like to do now, any housekeeping, because that's our next.
I am working with the comms team to get our vacancies posted online. They should be up soon if they're not already up. They'll be up on B Somerville when I check later. Once they're up for sure, I will send out a link so people can promote amongst their networks. Okay. Deadline for application will be the end of October.
Vanessa, do you know if the Concom is in need of any people too?
They are, yes.
Okay, so maybe we can do sort of like a double push to get folks for them, because
we
have so many qualified people. We're not the only folks taking care of, the city and environmental issues.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael, I love trees. You could say it in unison. I love trees. All right. Okay, let's go to resident concerns. And we try in this in our meetings to be able to include everybody who comes to the meeting. So at this moment, Vanessa is going to ask if you'd like to be promoted to a panelist so we can see your faces and hear your voices. Anne, and please introduce yourself if you feel comfortable. Okay, we have Anne. Hi, Anne. Let's start with resident concerns. Does anyone have resident concerns? And usually we start with the public, no pressure, Anne, but how are things going? How are things going, Cobble Hill?
And I think you're muted.
Thank you. We have a new manager, so that's really interesting. And everyone's very enthusiastic about his presence. And so that's a big change in the life of Cobble Hill. And I'm still very concerned about what happens with the park and the trees and 90 Washington. That's my focus and interest. I would like to talk about Union Square in relation to the plantings that were wonderful along the 90 Washington. I don't know if you know, but there's a fence, and in front of the fence on Washington Street, there was a very large wildflower planting that was very beautiful all summer. In relation to Union Square, and I don't know if this is the place to bring it up, but Union Square is not well maintained. And the plantings in Union Square, and we've also had a very dry spell. But between plantings that go everywhere, as they naturally do, and considerable waste that does not get picked up, Union Square is looking pretty terrible. And I spoke on behalf of the plantings along Washington Street because there are some residents who found them distasteful. There are people who don't appreciate what those plants are doing and what the plantings in Union Square are doing. And I think there's a little give and take to consider with what wildflowers you plant in Union Square, and if any can be relatively low growing, would probably, if that's possible, I don't even know, but it might help with, I mean, right now Union Square is just, there's trash everywhere. And it detracts from the plantings that are there. And even the process of decay, which is natural, is not, it's not honored with the amount of trash that's around. So there is a trash problem, but I think there's also a planting problem that you long-term might want to bring attention to, is what's easy to maintain in a highly trafficked area is worthy of consideration, I think. So I just wanted to bring that up.
And let's take that item first, because I think I want to hear what colleagues have to say, and I have thoughts on it. And Vanessa, maybe you have answers or advice. Well, if anyone's been to Union Square, those beautiful bioswales, you know, they're full of smartweed and wormwood and unfortunate other mostly invasive plants. There are some original plantings of the penstemon. I've seen the iris, some little blue stem, a few of the asters made it. They were under contract, and last year they were replanted. Earlier this season, Ed Halloran said, like, Tori, go check out the those bioswales, because he thought some plants were stolen. So I guess the questions, Vanessa, are we still under contract? And if not, how can we put our brains together to figure it out?
I believe that last fall they were weeded and replanted as like that last piece of the contract. I don't know if with the way the contract was set up, if those plants that were replanted are under warranty at all. I'm not sure. I can ask Dan about that, but let's assume they're not under contract anymore, and which means it's up to DPW to maintain them now, but staffing in DPW has been very low. So it's a challenge to get everywhere.
I would.
Vanessa, was there, oh, sorry, Anne.
No, go ahead.
I was curious. I thought I had heard some rumors about contracting out GI maintenance through the city. Was there any progress on that?
I don't know. Last I heard it was a rumor the RFP was getting written maybe, but I don't know if it ever went out. Since we checked the RFP list on the regular, we haven't seen it, so I'm guessing it hasn't gone out yet. I haven't heard anything internally.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, this is a super common issue that I know that we see with green infrastructure installations and planting installations all over. And there's not a great answer to how to keep trash out. You just have to wish that people were better. But I feel like there is often it does fall, I think, on community organizations and gardening groups and neighbors and businesses to like
Yeah.
adopt a planter or something like that.
I would I take care of the bus stop at Myrtle Street and Washington Street regularly because it people stand there and it just gets disgusting. I'm happy to go. I would rather not go alone and do a pickup. Because I don't think Union Square should be quite the mess that it is. And so, I mean, I'm available if just a trash pickup, I think would be helpful.
Thank you, Anne. And just quick introduction, Leah Grossman, co-chairs joining us. Leah, just to update you, and Ryan has the resident concern, and I think all of our concerns is the bioswales in Union Square and along Washington Street, Anne.
No,
And
Washington Street just got mowed. So that there was a mattress there, that's gone as well. But the bioswale along Washington Street was fabulous. It
Yeah.
really was all summer. But it just got mowed. But that's a DPW sweep because they are right there at 90 Washington.
Okay, thoughts. Is there a way to check 311 records? And Leah, since you're so nimble at sharing your screen, is there a way you can pull up some of the images of the bioswales and the potentially pre-mowed meadow that Anne's talking about on Washington Street? Do you have an address for that, Anne, or a general?
Well, it's 90 Washington. That's
oh, it's 90.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's
Okay.
also stayed quite clean all summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your work. So other thoughts from colleagues? So Dorothy, yeah. Go. No. So I guess if I were DPW, I would go out of my way not to touch any of these things because they don't have a contract and it's been 700 plus days. And I know we don't perhaps take positions, but I support my Somerville Municipal Employees Union. So that said, I think if we were to do any sort of supportive work in those areas, so here's the two thoughts. We either need to do it sort of on the sly with various volunteer groups, or we get permission from the DPW to manage some of these areas. And I feel like DPW would be like, go to it, you know, we're over, we don't have the capacity and we don't have the training, you know what I mean? So I don't fault the DPW with this at all because they don't have the support.
No.
Right. But we don't want them just mowing, but some, you know, we do a lot of reactive maintenance, right? Someone puts a 311 in and there's, I want to say there's a calculus that rewards like the 311 responses. So where do we go from here? And what I can do, and Vanessa, can I CC you is to contact Ben Waldrop and Jill and perhaps Ed Halloran and just say, hey, do you guys mind if, and Carrie, Breck, just see if they mind if we have a few volunteer days to care for them. Does that make sense?
You can CC me on that.
I'll CC you on that. And Breck, one of our tree amigos. Okay. I'll do that. And you know what I'm thinking, and Green and Open Somerville, maybe it can be a joint effort with UFC, Groundwork, Green and Open. And Anne, I'm going to CC you on that email too. Does that sound good?
Okay, great.
Okay,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's possibly a solution. And thanks for bringing it to our attention because it's been on my mind as well.
Okay.
And Vanessa, if you could just check to see if we're still under contract, because if we are, then that would be, great if they could care for them, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think whatever was in front of 90 Washington wasn't part of this Saucy
right.
project, so that's separate.
Right.
I think there's two separate issues, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to follow up on the Saucy planters.
And another thought I just had was, you guys are still working on the RFP for the horticultural contract. Can we get bioswales in there, the ones that are perhaps whose contract have expired? Because it's, I really have in mind the horticulturalist I want. I'm hoping that if you send something out, that offshoots would want to be the horticulturalist because they're so meticulous with their work.
Nice.
So is that something to possibly consider?
Well, those contracts are really focused on parks, and I'm pretty sure we already don't have enough money for all the service areas and parks that we want to, but I know,
Okay.
like Doris mentioned, that there is discussion at least of a GI maintenance contract, which I think includes the bioswale maintenance. So I will check with engineering on the status of that contract.
Okay. And the other thing, not to put too much stuff on you, the bioswales that were just planted on Summer Street. Again,
Those
they're
are
still
definitely
looking
under
pretty-
warranty.
Those are under warranty.
For
Okay.
yeah, at least
They could
a
use a
year or
little.
two.
Yeah, they could use some care. I don't know what the
Okay.
schedule is, but
I'll check in on that.
But like Doris said, okay, they go in and they're beautiful, and then what do we do? But I will say they're still capturing stormwater, even if it is full of undesired plants. But I agree, especially in Union Square, well, not just, all over, but if Union Square is sort of a shiny place in the city, let's try to keep it shiny. Okay, other resident concerns?
I have one, but I'm fine to defer if there's someone not on the committee who wants to raise something.
Okay. I think, Michael, it's all you. And Leah,
Okay.
I think you can stop screen sharing. Thank you for piloting.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just had a question about how it worked. If my neighbor was just talking to me about tree work on a public tree that's in the sidewalk in front of his house, and I think he'd put in a 311 request for it, and wasn't urgent or anything, but I was curious how, if there's a tree request that comes in for pruning something outside your house because it's close to your house or close to the power lines, how does the city triage those? And is there a typical expectation around hey, this is close to my whatever, power lines or something, I submitted it. What should a resident typically expect there if it's kind of coming from a safety-ish concern?
I can take that one. It kind of depends on the situation, and I go out and look at each tree that we get a request for. So honestly, we get a lot of requests about power lines, and the power lines really are kind of not my primary concern, no pun intended, but and the Eversource technically is responsible for maintaining the power lines as well, but basically, like, we have a relatively good turnaround time right now for anything that is like in direct contact with buildings, or, you know, obviously anything that's a significant hazard, we're trying to get to pretty quickly. If it's like, you know, not so urgent, not really causing any direct damage or anything like that. You know, we do unfortunately at this point have a very long backlog of requests from not having a tree crew for so long. So it kind of depends, basically on the situation, like I said.
Thanks for that. If you're not able to comment, that's a-okay. But like, if a tree's like touching somebody's house and they put it in, is that something where like within 2 months might be expecting, or tough to say?
It's hopefully, I mean, I would say within a few months.
Cool. Okay.
You know, it's a slow grind getting through all our requests, but we're getting there.
Well, thanks. Esky trees.
Thanks, Breck. Thanks, Michael. Vanessa, will you invite people to promote themselves again? See, we have 4 attendees. I don't know, maybe if they missed perhaps they're staying a little on the sidelines on purpose, or I don't know if you
Do
could.
decline, but I see a new one that I've just offered
Okay.
the option. There's one phone caller that I cannot, it might be Allie, but I can't promote that person. And one's a bot, it looks like.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, it is. Pick them out. Okay, yeah, and they can raise their hands, right? Attendees can raise their hands if they want to talk. Okay, so attendees, if you want to chat, just raise your hand. Okay, I have a resident concern, but I prefer to hear other members of the committee first. Okay, I'll go for it. No, good. Thank you.
Just
Thank
a real
you.
quick, yeah.
No,
I was
take your time.
I was just wondering if Vanessa had any updates on all the dying trees in East Somerville, the ones that some of which we had talked about that were in bad shape. What's the street after not East Cross, but the next one to the west? Forget what that's called. But anyway, we had talked before about how we had a lot of very, very badly struggling trees around here. Some of which were supposed to be replaced, I think, by the contractor.
I don't remember the specific street or conversation, except from the spring, and they turned out to be leafing out. So I'm not sure specifically, but the warranty replacements by the contractor Northeastern has given me a new estimate of in a few weeks. So we'll see. They keep postponing replacements. So I am hopeful it will be soon. Wagon Wheels, my current planting contractor, and I think they did most of the replacements I told them about. And then I have another, Leahy Landscaping is planting contractor from last year, and they have a list of about 13 to 15 trees to replace. That I'm not sure when they're going to schedule it, but sometime this fall. If you see specific locations, if you haven't put a 311 in yet, do that. I'm working through planting lists, so if they're out of warranty trees, I can look at them and potentially get them replanted this fall, or if not this fall, then in the spring.
Okay, thanks. I haven't put in the 311s. I've been bad about that.
Okay. You're muted.
I'm never gonna figure that out. Okay, so the 2 Norway maples that had like totally died were removed on Prospect Hill. I'm hoping we can keep the stumps because people are now like sitting on them and kind of gathering around them and hanging out. Breck, does that sound like that's okay versus grinding the stump down?
I have no objection to that, but I can't guarantee that I will not get overruled on that.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm hoping to replant the area with a couple of trees like we discussed at the last meeting. So having a stump there makes it slightly more challenging, but I haven't gone to the site to see how it'll work
Yeah.
to work around it yet.
I wonder if it, since it, well, I don't know how dead, no, that was a pretty dead tree. So I'm wondering if like, if you planted a few trees like around the stump, if that would actually kind of, the decaying stump would actually work to feed the other trees. If the roots are alive, I'd be like, no, grind it down, because Norway maples are either they're allelopathic or not, or they just kill other plants. I don't know how it works, but okay, so just that's kind of just how it's been used. And so the other thing is, so a bunch of the trees are covered like in moss and lichen, like almost as if we're in a rainforest. And then someone said, like, Tori, the irrigation system is just spraying the trees and is making them very wet, and you can sort of see like where the irrigation system is sort of like, I don't know, broadcasting. It's not like in the ground, it's and you can see on the like where the water hits the trees, like there's like a dry spot, like maybe 2 feet like the first part of the trunk, and then it's all like moss and lichen. So I'd love for you guys to take a look, because I don't know if that could possibly have contributed to the death of the Norway maples, but it's like they have little rugs on them. And I took video and I will send it to you of what I'm talking about. So there's 3 different irrigation places. They're 20 minutes each, starting from midnight to 1 on one side of the castle, and on the other side, it starts at 1 and goes, I don't know. All I saw was like the first 10 minutes of the second side of the castle. So yeah, just wanted the tree amigos to be aware and maybe take a look, and I'd love to show you if it's
Does it
helpful.
look like a burst line, or like it's supposed to be doing that?
No, it looks like the irrigation looks fine. It looks, it looks like it's doing what it was installed to do, but I'm wondering if the way it's set up, if it's possibly hurting some of the trees in terms of like they're furry. The bark is kind of furry. It's like so cool. It's like, ooh, soft. What? No, we're not in the rainforest. So nothing's broken.
In general, moss and lichen has no impact on trees, but this does seem like a not unusual case. So I'm curious. I'll check it
Yeah.
out when I'm in the area for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I've also submitted 311 in the past when there's been really aggressive irrigation. There was ones that were like 2 inches from the tree and knocking off the bark. And those were addressed pretty, that was a few years ago, but they're able to make changes. So
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
that
pretty,
helps.
it's the pressure is high, like like, whoa, that might hurt if I got in front of that. So that's my resident concern. All right, anyone else?
I don't have a concern, but if we're done with concerns, I can share a resident resource, I guess, based on previous question.
Yeah.
I have not explored this too deeply, but I just started clicking around when we were like, can you access 311 data? And yes, you can.
Huh.
So I just clicked some things, and if you go, you can start at the dashboard, and I clicked on trees, and then there's a tab up here called calls in the last month. And it looks like, I don't know, I have to dig into this more, but high level, 68 people called in August about a downed tree limb branch. And 6 called about tree stump removal.
Huh.
So I don't think you get, I don't know how granular. I think it's all aggregated for
Yeah.
like safety. But you can see it mapped by block code. So you can see that, ooh, you can also highlight.
Huh.
This one had a lot, which I think is, or Prospect Hill is down here, but Gilman Square had 9,000
Oh,
calls.
dandy. Yeah. Wow.
And that, I think that was just about trees, but I'm not super sure. Anyways, I'll drop a link in the chat. Go nuts. Public data is great. I think if it's helpful.
Thanks, Leah. Okay, let's go to is anyone from the city like needing to go? Because I'd take city updates first if there were, that was pressing. Okay, we'll go to
I will-
ongoing work. Oh,
I will also note just that Allie, for Allie's items, she's gonna be she might be here on the phone, but when we're discussing the Tree of Heaven and
okay, and
stuff,
her
we should-
items are the Tree of Heaven
and the champion trees.
and the champion tree list. Okay, let's go out of order. Let's get updates from the city. Going out of order, seeing no objections. Starting with city tree removals.
I don't have much to report since the last time we talked. I didn't have a chance to double check my list today, but the tree crew is still working through the last list that I sent you. There may be, 5 or so additions that I'll send out as soon as I can, but it's the last list is still in progress.
Okay. Okay, private tree removals.
I'll take that, but I did not prepare. Just gonna pull up the spreadsheet to see how up to date it is.
I want to share the spreadsheet in the chat. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
I'm just gonna share my screen if that's okay.
I just beat you to it, but you can
Oh,
take
good.
over too.
There you go. Yeah, thanks. Are you in the exemptions tab there?
Yes.
So yeah, we'll just scroll
Get to the
down.
bottom.
I know Malik was cleaning this up, so it should be pretty up to date. Looks like there are a few we haven't discussed yet. I think from doing the minutes recently, I think last time we talked about 125 Jake Street and 500 Mystic and Powderhouse Terrace. So since then, there's Mossland Street, Wilson, Willow Ave, Tennyson, School, and Orchard. Various reasons for exemptions, but generally hazardous or dead or small or invasive. So those are pretty clear. If we switch over to the permit applications tab, I wish this had a filter. A lot have been issued. Some are still pending from before. These don't have issued dates, but there's at least a few at the bottom where the applications were fairly recent. So starting with 89 Monroe. someone removed a tree without a permit, but they are working to get a permit now. 44 Linden removed one tree. 14 to 16 Otis is still pending. 2830 Hawthorne is issued. And 11 Hudson Street is issued. I'm not sure this is a very effective way to summarize information. So if we want to restructure how we discuss this, we can think about that, but that's that.
So on Otis Street, is that the box elder that was, people were complaining about our precious box elder critter? Is that a different one?
It definitely is a box elder, so I am guessing yes, but I don't remember this being, was that one that we discussed like a while ago?
Yeah.
Because it's so recent, I don't know if it's
Yeah,
a
maybe
different box elder,
different.
I'm not sure.
So the property is sold, so the waiver is they're eligible for a waiver because now there's new residents who are property owners living there, kind of.
Yeah, so the application was after the property was sold. So whoever lives there now is applying. The notes here are because it takes like a year to get a residential exemption certificate from the assessor's department or whatever department issues it. So they won't have a residential exemption form yet, but if they're eligible, that means they're living on site. So they are waiver eligible, yes.
Does that mean they need to wait that year to?
No.
Okay.
Tori, I just did a quick search for box elder.
Yeah.
And the infestation request was from 127 Heath Street, so it was a different address.
Okay. Okay, I got a text from Jake Wilson who was wondering about 94 Jake Street. Hey Tori, do you happen to remember if a permit for a tree removal of a large Norway maple at 94 Jake came before the UFC?
Was this a long time ago?
Yeah, this is like August 29th. You texted me.
Yeah, we had emailed.
You've cleared it up.
It had a permit. It had a permit.
It did. Okay. Was that a private property?
Yeah.
Okay. And Norway maples are, oh no, they're not exempt.
Norway maples up to 24 inches are exempt.
Are exempt. Right. Okay. Any other questions on private tree removals? Okay. All right. Moving on to the Somerville Pollinator Action Plan. SPAP. A lot of work has been done. I mean, I don't know if the final document is public yet, but I had a couple issues with several of the cultivars that were included, but I feel like in the end, the consultants offshoots just took everybody's considerations really meaningfully. And what I think are going to be some of the most influential parts of the document are what are called the pantry cards. They're sort of recommendations for what to plant. And what I remember in the end, they were very thorough. There was a Fells card, like what if you want to recreate an ecosystem, what does that look like? Along with more aesthetic type of plantings. And I mean, yeah, Vanessa, do you have any updates? And I'll look quick online to see what's
Allison's been working on like copy edits with the final draft, so it's not out yet, but there are versions online that are very close to the final, but the final is not out yet.
Okay.
But very soon.
Okay, stay tuned. It's nearly finished.
It's very exciting. We're already, using the information in the plan to modify practices and use it for planting lists and pushing everyone towards the planting lists and stuff. So it's a very useful document.
Well, I just think this is probably going to be one of our most successful documents. I mean, we put a lot of good documents together, and you know, in general, we're sort of Somerville sets the tenor, and I just think we're pretty much hitting it out of the park with this one. So stay tuned. Okay, Rob just joined us. Rob is an associate member of the Urban Forestry Committee. Associate members are members who are not officially part of the Urban Forestry Committee, but those community members who are enthusiastic lovers of trees and green space. Rob, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Sorry for being a little late. I'll chime in real quick. I thought that the pollinator action plan was pretty awesome too when I read it. And just one other silly little fun thing. I just wanted to say that back on like for our Arbor Day celebration, there were a bunch of plugs being given away, and I'm happy to announce that my goldenrod, my black-eyed Susans, and my butterfly weed have all been blooming. So in the last couple of weeks, so pretty exciting.
Yay. And
Man,
Rob,
mine have not bloomed, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
They're small, but some blooms. So yeah,
bloom.
be patient, I guess.
I heard good information, good feedback from another person who was boasting about how successful they were. And Rob shared a picture with me of what is this creature on my milkweed? And it was a monarch butterfly caterpillar. So, hey, doing it. Okay, any other updates, Rob? Any other?
Nothing really. I'll tease out one really fun little thing, but it's quite a ways off. We're toying with the idea of doing a tree-themed trivia night at Portico Brewing, maybe in May. So sort of around Arbor Day. A lot more details on that when we get much closer, but we've been talking with Green Cambridge, and we were brainstorming some collaboration ideas, and that was one that popped up, and I was like, yep, that sounds like a really fun thing to do. So we'd love to get as much of the tree community in both Cambridge and Somerville and maybe beyond involved in it in some way.
Thank you, Rob and Portico. Okay, next we are city updates. Oh, urban forestry related job postings and RFPs.
Yeah, I just did a scan
Okay.
and it looks like there is a public grounds caretaker and gardener position open. And I scanned through it, and it does say that you should be able to identify intentional plantings from weeds. So that's a great thing.
Hey.
And then otherwise, I think everything else is there. I saw tree surgeon. I don't know if that's a new one or that's ongoing.
Ongoing. So the gardener, the person who was the gardener, moved into the tree crew. So now that gardener position's open. We still have another tree crew.
Well, that's good.
Leah, what's the starting salary for our gardener position? Can you see that?
Yeah, you can see it is $880 per week plus benefits. So
Wow.
that is like less than 52
Wow.
weeks in a year. So not a
Yeah,
lot. 4
That's a
weeks of
full,
vacation.
and that's a full-time position? Is that like 35 hours or 40 hours or something? Or does it?
It is full-time position, yeah.
Well, I know the city benefits are pretty good, but yeah, it feels a little low. Feels a little low for someone who would have knowledge of, you know, intentional versus non-intentional plantings. And who sets the salaries for that? Is that sort of the request comes out from the mayor's office?
It's part of the union, whatever,
The union
contract, but they don't
contract.
have a contract, so their old
Right.
contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's set by the
Okay.
union.
Okay, that's good
It is
information.
labeled as entry level.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, yeah, that sounds like a specialized position to me. Maybe I'll talk to Ed. Ed Halloran's a person at the DPW, who's also head of the union and a passionate pollinator enthusiast. And very much into green jobs and union labor. It's pretty cool. All right. And any RFPs?
Oh, I did not check that one.
Okay,
We can come back to it.
come back to it. And just to let everyone know, we check these just because we have resources and connections with the community that would potentially help the city fill these jobs and or requests for proposals. Okay, Urban Forestry Committee structure. This is an ongoing item. And I believe we have, Vanessa, you started the document.
This was a bunch of questions that Dorothy put together for us to help people understand how we work and what we do. Last time we answered one in the meeting. Maybe we want to try to do that
Oh,
again
yeah, we were gonna
to
do
make some
one.
progress.
Yeah,
Per meeting.
let's spend some time just kind of plugging away at that. That is, Dorothy, does that sound good?
Yeah, we talked about doing, since there's always so many things we don't get to, we had talked about doing one per meeting. Just
Okay.
slowly plugging away at them.
Yeah.
I'm actively searching for the document so I can open it. Here we go, I found it.
Cool.
And there were no relevant RFPs, so.
Okay.
And then Chris Dwan did share that he is going to fill in a short history of the committee, which is awesome. So that will be coming at some point. So that one we've tasked to him, and then I think we covered number 5 last time, how our new members recruited and selected. So I wonder if we want to do, I'll make this bigger, sorry. This seems like a big question.
Okay. Who are the members of the committee? Why are they on the committee? What passions, skills, or knowledge do they bring to the committee?
I wonder if, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say the impetus for that was like when you join a committee or a board, usually you know who the people are and you know something about them. And like Michael did this great thing and went around and talked to all of us, or many of us, if you haven't talked to everybody yet. And like just knowing who people were, having a link to their bio or something would be huge in terms of kind of understanding how the committee works and just getting, feeling comfortable with it, in my opinion.
I wonder if part of on board, or like starting on the committee, is you make a little bio of yourself and we include it in our shared Google Doc. Like, I don't think it needs to be on the website necessarily, but just something as a resource for community members. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I think one thing too, and Vanessa, apologies if you sent this, but do we even have all each other's emails? Like, is that something you did share out?
I meant to, but I did not.
Yeah, I think that just like being able to contact, like with the strong, I know, disclaimer about like having enough people on the thread, but if it's with the like, okay, only reach out one-on-one, I think that's one thing. And I appreciate all the thinking that people have already done around onboarding.
And I wonder if, because it can't be like a shared doc, but I wonder if new members just share their bio with co-chairs, and then we can upload it to a, maybe just like a shared PowerPoint or a shared Word doc, and we can have a fun picture and a little blurb about yourself. That would be very cute.
Is this, I can't remember, is this document only a few people have access to it or all of us have access to it? I can't remember.
Everyone has view access, but it is limited in who can edit it.
Got it. So are you thinking that new members, we would just start with new members adding stuff, or, would we
Yeah, we
want
should
to
add ours.
share as our
Yeah.
own stuff? Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if we can make that a homework. We never give homework objectively to everybody. I wonder if we can give a homework assignment and maybe we say, by the end of the year, we get all of our bios and pictures sent to myself and Tori, I guess, unless anyone is interested in facilitating this digital. Michael,
Yeah, if
have
I
a
have
hunch you
people's
might be.
emails, I'm happy to like just email folks, like everybody individually, and ask for a short bio. And I think we should even see who can have it ready by next month and then see how many we can get as the year goes on.
Yeah, these don't
That'd
have
be
to be
great.
long. They could
Yeah.
just be, 3 sentences and a photo or something, right? Just, yeah.
And I would just add too, I think one of the reasons I'm interested in onboarding is like helping new members, and I still consider myself like a new member having joined this year, is like how fast can they get up to speed and become like more useful to the committee, more useful to Vanessa, and like diving in to support the awesome stuff that like are already in flight.
I think this is a really good idea, especially because I don't think I've met everyone in person. I know like at a few outreach events I've met people, but I don't know if we've all ever come together in person. So I think getting to know each other better would be.
Got muted at the end there, Calla, but I think yeah. Would be nice to know people.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that might have answered that question and giving us a next step. And thanks, Michael, for stepping up to initiate that. And I'll make a space where we can, or yeah, if you want to start a document and then we can add it to the shared resource. I might have outstanding to-dos on that to share, make sure everyone has access to that as well.
To access to this, because I don't, is it something that we could, if it's a view only, Vanessa, that I could just go in with, the minutes or the agenda you send out so that we can look at it?
Sure.
That would be great.
We also have a Urban Forestry Committee documents that should be shared with everyone. And actually, if you don't have it, send me an email. And I think that one is view only and everyone can view it, and that's okay. Is that right?
Leah, your email is Leah.
Oh yeah, I'll throw it in the chat. Leah R.Grossman.
Okay.
Even way back when, someone else had Leah.Grossman.
Are you at Stantec? Is that a Stantec?
No, at Gmail.
Okay.
Stantec, luckily I got Leah.Grossman.
Nice.
Yeah. Keep work separate.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, definitely shoot me an email and that will remind me to do the thing. So that would be great. Do we want to take on, I'm looking at time, and I
Yeah,
know this week we wanted to get to more group subcommittee content.
Mhm.
So either we could take on one more quick question or say that we've achieved our goal of one question and move on in the agenda.
Want to
Oh.
perhaps come back to it if we have time at the end?
That's a great idea.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, awesome. Great work, everybody. And Allie is not yet here. So, but let's go to ongoing work updates. And let's start with McGrath Highway Green Space. I think Marion, is that you?
I can talk about it actually.
Oh, Vanessa, yes, hi.
So it's a state project since it's Mass dot land, but for context, the state is pretty serious about moving that project forward. So the plan is to make McGrath a safer, more pedestrian friendly, better road, and to put the part that's up down. And to add bike lanes and stuff. So PSF met, a few people from PSF met with the landscape architecture firm that's working on the design. So we got a inside scoop. They're still working on up to 25% designs, I believe. So it's still conceptual and things are in flux, but they've already gotten some feedback. And anyways, it looks pretty good, like a lot of trees and green space. But as Marion had brought up before, there are at least sections of McGrath where there's pretty wide chunks of green space in the middle of the two directions of traffic, which is something, but not super useful to the people walking on the street. So we noticed that as well and made recommendations to move more where possible towards the people walking on the street. So they seemed open to that idea. They're also trying to work in silvicels and lots of great stuff to make good, healthy trees. That's more than is generally possible on very busy streets with a lot of salt. So overall, it looked pretty good. There's a lot. It's a long stretch. There's a lot of details. We just were looking at sort of broad strokes, but at least the landscape architecture firm working on it seemed open to making changes. They are sort of small fish in the pond. The street people always get priority. Hi, Allie. So they're going to do their best to keep great spaces for trees, but the road people usually have the final say. So it's all about, there's a lot of other things also that I don't know, but that was the summary of the meeting. It was positive. They're willing to listen. I'm going to share with them the Safer Streets letter that Marion worked on. Yeah. Any questions?
Do you think they'd want to come to the committee? And
I don't know.
would you
I don't
ask
think
them?
so.
Would you
I don't think so. They're gonna have another public meeting, I think, but I don't know, we're not paying them. They're not obligated to do that. I'm just not sure that's appropriate and doesn't feel like something that I should do.
right, because they're not being employed by the city per se.
It's
I mean,
it's just
maybe
their
in the-
project, so I
Right.
can suggest it, I guess. I can
I
offer
mean,
it, but
if they're like, I do want people to get paid. If they have like outreach scheduled hours in their contract, maybe
might.
they would, you
they
can
might
preface it
between
with,
25 and 50%.
yeah, you can just throw it out there. Again, don't want to
Okay.
not pay people or
Yeah.
go outside of people's contract, but, and thank you for the report and thanks for sharing Marion's, hard worked letter, the staff, Somerville Streets, what,
Alliance for Safe Streets.
Somerville Alliance for Safe Streets.
And definitely a group effort letter.
Yep. Allison Bernard just joined us. Allie is also an associate member of the Urban Forestry Committee. She was chosen to serve on the Urban Forestry Committee, but had a conflict of interest with her job. So another wonderful associate member. Allie, do you want to just introduce yourselves? And right, we're talking about the McGrath, greening of the McGrath right now.
Yes, I joined in with my phone, so it put me in mute and it wouldn't let me join, but I've been listening in. Thanks for including me. Yes, I'm a certified tree keeper and a tree enthusiast, and I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you and all the enthusiasm you bring. Okay, any
Right.
more on, oh, sorry.
I see Alex Taylor has his hand raised. Can I allow him to speak?
Yeah, go for it. I can't see it. Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi, Alex.
All right, perfect. Hi, guys. It's been a while. Just curious about the McGrath thing. Where it sounds like there's some trees somewhere that are, I guess, in discussion by the state. Where exactly are these along McGrath, along the elevated portion? I'm zooming in on Google Maps satellite view, and the middle stretch just looks like, I mean, pretty much barren cement at this point. I know there are a couple invasives or whatever, but I guess where is the stretch in question?
Oh, this is plans, not current. So
Oh,
like
okay.
the plans
great.
for, years from now to be
Gotcha.
built. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been curious about that one too for years. Hopefully they'll come up with something before 2030. All right, thanks.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna also promote you to panelist if you'd like to come back.
Sure, yeah.
And I think I just dropped a link in the chat to the project website where
Perfect.
there's a presentation from February.
And I just found, is that the street blogs? I'm going to share another link. Thank you, Leah. Thanks for the question, Alex. Okay, anything else on the greening of the ground and breath? Okay, moving right along. Let's go to
I'm gonna say
Oh.
just one quick thing,
Oh, yeah,
actually,
go for it,
Tori.
of
Like,
course.
no, I keep being, I'm slow today, so I'm like, takes me a sec. But no, but I was gonna say, I'm thinking about what Anne was saying before, and I think that one of the things to think about, Vanessa, as you, in any follow-up conversations that you have with them is, we've been really trying to think about corridors and thinking about the pollinator plan and everything, and that like McGrath has the potential to be a really great connector and to really bridge different corridors and become an incredibly important corridor itself. So one of the things it can do is it can connect an improved Union Square with an improved Washington Street and all of that. So like just trying to encourage them to think of this as not just this thing, but like as because it also will matter what kind of plantings they have and all of that. And I think that we have an opportunity to really make this more ecologically valuable or less, and thinking big picture makes a big difference.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good point. And it sounds like the landscape architects are thinking about it from that perspective, more for the people maybe than, the pollinators, but we did share the pollinator action plan with them and talked about the corridor effect and, species that would be beneficial, but also like what Anne was saying, we have to think about the long-term maintenance too, and they're not going to be doing a whole lot of maintenance. So having low maintenance, but highly beneficial plants would be like the best situation.
Is there a way that we can and I don't know how this is a much bigger story than McGrath, but that everything, it's like, how do we get around this? Because it feels to me like there are people who care in the city And if we could figure out how to organize those people, organize ourselves to some extent, like I'm one of them, but like there's been, we could have less of this sense of the moment the contract, like you can't touch anything while it's under a contract, and then suddenly it falls into a black hole. And either way, you end up with huge amounts of planted areas that are neglected or that are planted in a suboptimal way because we have to provide for the fact that they're going to be neglected. And like, if I neglected my yard, it would turn into a black swallowwort forest in 6 months. So it's like, I don't know. It seems sad to me that we're sort of resigned to that being just the way it is. And maybe it's a matter of requesting a significant increase in budget for next year. I don't know what it is, but like some combination of volunteerism, community partnerships, stuff like that, and more budgeting seems like something that we need to really think about if we're going to be serious about making the most of the rare green space we have.
Yeah, it's frustrating reality that we're working to solve little by little, like the horticulturist contract to help care for parks that have complicated plantings, and the GSI contract to help with that. But it is a challenge and takes a lot of different paths, I think, to solve the problem. So volunteerism, I think, is another important avenue that can be explored for sure. We do ask for more money for taking care of stuff, but it's never enough. And then it's hard to find it's hard to actually hire staff that knows, what to do based on the salary that is provided. And we only have one gardener position and blah, blah, blah. So it is a huge challenge and it's frustrating.
There is a unorganized or perhaps extremely loosely organized force of guerrilla gardeners around the community. I speak as one of them, obviously. I emailed Matt McLaughlin, a counselor, a bit ago, and he is apparently compiling a list of these folks and has brought up a couple of these invasive species like knotweed to the city council a couple times, and they're aware of some problems, and I think they're potentially amenable to some new initiatives if enough people make complaints about it. But yeah, I mean, you could make some kind of, guerrilla gardeners brigade. I think there are enough people who are interested. Just need to get the word out.
I love it. I'm in.
Yeah, Alex, me too. I just put my email on the chat. If Matt is kind of working on this, would you share my email with him, or I can just reach out to him?
Yeah, I have an ongoing email chain. I'll loop you into that one next email.
Loop me into that.
Yeah, we'll do. Sure.
Me too. I'm a word winner.
Okay. So Marion, if you feel comfortable putting your email in the chat, and Anne, I see you talking, but I can't hear you, and I want to hear you.
Okay, something I forgot to say when I spoke about cleaning up the bus shelter is I had help from the executive director of East Somerville Streets to clean up the bus stop, because they spend a lot of time cleaning up East Somerville. It's on their agenda. And she very spontaneously said, let me know when you're going to do it, and we did it. She would be very interested in guerrilla gardeners. And she would get it. Sure, I'll put my email in.
I'm also thinking that, like there's in addition, there's guerrilla gardeners, and there's also the Somerville Garden Club, and the Somerville Garden Club I happen to be involved with them, and I am a little bit of an outlier in the garden club, in that I am probably, more jungle-like than the average garden club member. But that said, I think that, they've done a tremendous job setting up some, the gardens around the library and all of that. And that could also be an opportunity for sort of like, because the garden club is sort of has established systems for doing that sort of thing, there's potential for partnering with a garden club and inviting new people to become members, because like the garden club has been trying really hard to get younger people in, to get people from different communities in. So there's different, and you don't have to be a paying member to be involved in garden club activities. It's more about just like potentially using some of the resources that we have, because they can be a very good resource. And the same with Green and Open, like there's groups out there already.
And groundwork.
Groundwork. So Alex, it looks like you are our new chair of the working group of the Guerrilla Gardeners.
Excellent.
So keep myself, Tori, I think Rob, I don't know if you want to throw your private message, Alex, and I think we all have connections, so continue that thread, and maybe we just have like start with one specific tree well in Union Square or East Somerville, or and something, since you also brought this item
yeah, I've got some ideas. Would love to discuss with y'all.
And like East Somerville main streets, and if we go to Union Square main street. So if you feel comfortable in that role, I support you. We support you, and I would like to team up with you. Yes.
Done. Sold.
Awesome. Look at us.
Can I ask, what do we mean by guerrilla gardening?
Thank you.
It's like guerrilla warfare, GUERRIL, whatever. It's just popping up. Sometimes, planting wildflower seeds, sometimes removing a tree of heaven or black swallowwort, not invading anybody's property, but if it's a public park and, or just on the sidewalk or whatever, you walk by somebody's fence, poking out on the sidewalk, just grab it and go. There's also some state land that is not managed on the sides of literally every highway we have, including McGrath, that is owned by them. So Somerville can't technically manage it, but there are a number of people, including myself, who are dedicated to, planting some native trees, other species, supporting wildlife, and removing all these invasives. It's a hell of a lot of work, and there's not enough of us, but I think we're making a dent.
Well, I can definitely see supporting removing invasive species, like pulling pods or things. Though I've seen a lot of people like purposely try to plant things with trees in the berm, and you can just see that the tree dies. Like it's like competing for water with it. And then I think people did it with good intention, but those trees don't have a lot of, like, they have like a teeny little rectangle to get like all their water. So when people put like sunflowers out, like you're killing the public tree. So I just want to make sure we're mindful that we're not planting like a flower that will then take away from the public's forestry.
Yep. I mean, and in stands where it's literally just invasives, there's really not much damage to be done. It's all brake dust and old, beer cans and broken bottles and stuff, removing the trash, getting rid of some of that, making it safe. And if anybody or even an animal does go over that fence, I think is a benefit. And, if saplings people plant, seedlings people plant, don't survive, figure no harm, no foul, they're not, doing anything to interfere with the city's plans. The state has no plans and no money to deal with it. Some of these areas are more successful than others. Some of them nobody has any attempts towards, but there are a couple that I know one in particular specifically asked me not to bring up where his plot is with this committee. I think he's concerned about it getting to the state or whatever and being shut down. But some of these plots have had a lot of success, but it's taken multiple years to get anywhere.
And sometimes it's the other way around. It's just getting rid of the really bad stuff. I mean, like, I'm very proud of the Japanese knotweed control that I did early in the spring at the corner of is it Mystic, whatever, 38 and where you're going towards Assembly Row, and there's like a little green patch. And then early in the spring, I just ripped the crap out of all of that Japanese swallowwort. I mean, Japanese knotweed. And for the most part, I'm pretty sure I was successful because like it really went away. I was like, I know that it's like a, but it was young. I could tell that a lot of it was young and like not like connected to something. And I was just like, yeah.
Yay, Mary.
It's so
Small victories.
satisfying.
My husband is the murderer of black swallowwort. He'll just go like anytime we take a walk and he sees like we hate the way it smells, but he'll just tear it out everywhere.
Anne,
I have a question. Am I? Yes.
go for it.
A friend and I planted some good seeds along the bikeway. By the green line, the new green line, because there's so much just rocks and things like that. Now, what do you think about that? Is that a good, bad idea? What we did vetch seeds, we did,
Anne, do you mind hanging on? You're going to be here for the meeting because that is coming up on the agenda,
all right,
the greening the
good.
green line. So you bring up a good,
Okay, I'll wait.
and you should consider applying to serve on the committee if that interests you.
I see Dorothy's hand. Dorothy, your hand perfectly matches your background. And so
I don't even see it.
Anyway, so I'm coming late to this, but I was just looking at re-looking at the McGrath Highway slides, and just shut me down if like this is like, yeah, we dealt with this, Vanessa, or whatever. But I was looking at they said what on one of the slides, I think it's number 17, they say, what can it look like? And they show the Casey overpass in Boston. And I agree that what's there now is 100% better than what was there. But like, if I had to cross that a couple weeks ago, it was terrifying. It was way better than it was before, but it was like nothing in terms of like what something could look like or what the goal would be. So if that's what's in their mind, like we need if a picture speaks 1,000 words, if there's a better picture than the reconstruction of the Casey overpass in Boston, like that would be worth 1,000, like a lot.
And you're seeing this in
this is on the mass.gov site. I think
that the one that
shared it
that
in the documents, and then if you
okay.
scroll down, it has the PDF of the presentation of one of the last meetings. And yeah, and then it's slide number 17.
And
can you
on
share
that
your
website,
screen maybe, Dorothy? Because I'm having trouble finding it and I'm not familiar with what Casey overpass looks like.
It's over by where Forest Hills is now, or was, whatever it is. Share my screen. I will share this one. Let me do something before I do that so you guys can see the whole thing. Oh, but if I do that, then I'm covering up the share thing. So what do you guys see? Can you see anything?
Yeah.
I see a website and photos of the McGrath.
Yeah, so, do you see?
I guess this is, photos of the Casey overpass, I think.
Yeah, so this is the Casey overpass before, and this is what it looks like now. And this station right here is the Forest Hills station, which is right next to, there's a park and corridor, the southeast corridor that goes along there. But this thing is it's not a very good picture of it, but it's very hard to get across. It's slightly terrifying. If you're elderly, have mobility issues, it'd be hard to get across it safely. And it's just not very inspiring. But because the title of this slide is "What Can It Look Like?" I was just like, oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, a lot of the concepts were similar. Like having the trees in the middle between the two lanes. I think McGrath would be at max. I think it was only 2 lanes across, but I'm forgetting now because I was looking at the planting more than anything else. And there's going to be bike lanes and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
There's
I'll
some places where
keep
they're
this in mind.
planning 3 lanes. It's all there's all these, yeah, it depends on where you are, but it's definitely a really, really beautiful place to drive through as you're commuting and not paying a lot of attention.
Yeah. But when you think about this and like in your lower right-hand corner of your screen, or yeah, you can kind of access the end of the Arboretum. And on the left-hand side of your screen, there's the southeast, it's like called that walkway that goes all the way to Boston Southeast Corridor, the old where they wanted to construct a highway. So there's a lot of green space right here. So it's very abrupt. But at the same time, this is like, it would even be worse in McGrath Highway than this. At least you can get out of this as a pedestrian or a bike rider pretty quickly. But in McGrath Highway, this would just be a continuation of, or worse than what's there.
Dorothy, you are welcome to join the little gang of people organized by SAS about this. But yes, because we have a lot of the same conversations. But like they're trying, they have they're very well intentioned. They really want to make this a nice place, but they're still really thinking of a beautiful place to drive through.
Right.
You know, it's like it's very hard for like this, all the safety stuff is there, but it's like not actually human scale, not actually the sort of thing that people would cross voluntarily if they have access to a car.
Yeah, just like it is now.
Yeah. Well, I can speak to somebody about my experience, but I can hardly make it to this meeting. So I don't think I should volunteer to participate.
Well, I think bringing awareness, just even looking at the slides, bringing awareness to the issue, you're doing the good work.
Thank you, Tori. That's very kind and generous.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the next agenda item? Yes.
Could I suggest we go up to Ally's
Yeah, let's
items?
get back to Ally's. Yep. Okay, ongoing work updates. We have removal advice of tree of heaven and other invasives. Tell us what you've been working on, Alan.
Okay, well, I do think that I'd love to kind of revive the project that put out the most wanted weeds and go to the next step of recommending how to remove them properly, which could be the time of the year or just how you get rid of them, like whether you need to get the roots or you need to get, whether you might need to use herbicide. Always trying to recommend a more mechanical approach if possible, but just giving people like practical tips on how to get rid of things when things start to pop up in their own yards, I think would be really nice. Because, some of these weeds on this list, I feel like they're not all equally evil. Like there's some dandelions, like, no one really likes dandelions, okay, maybe, but they're not causing like that much harm compared to things like tree of heaven and Japanese knotweed and black swallowwort. So I think it would be nice to help people recognize which ones are really like the worst ones and then how to get rid of it. So that's one thing I'd love if there's like a group that wanted to keep kind of pushing that forward. I did try to put some guidance together for tree of heaven specifically, because I think that we have an opportunity in Somerville to be more proactive. Some other communities around the United States have gotten hit so badly with tree of heaven, and then they've gotten taken over by the spotted lanternfly. I don't know if we have identified a spotted lanternfly in Somerville yet, but we do have a lot of mother tree of heavens, and they're very aggressive. And if you take them out the wrong way, it gets way worse. And I personally live next to an infestation. There's probably 100 trees of heaven next door to me. And every year, I think they have been getting a notice from the city that because it's overgrowing the sidewalk, they need to cut it back. So they just clear cut it. And then they come back way worse and way more vigorous. It's just like awful to watch. And in my own property, I think I handpicked about 1,000 trees of heaven last year. And this year I went after it at the right time with a simple, took me a half hour with herbicide, and it's been a lot better. Like they aren't really coming up. So I do think that I'd love for the city to adopt the guidance that I drafted. I've gotten, I think only one person has given some specific feedback. And I think the concern was that, herbicide's not preferable. So I made an adjustment just to say, like if you're having trouble getting rid of the tree of heaven, then you might need to go to this next path of herbicides. But I do think that herbicides do unfortunately have to be part of the solution if we're going to be proactively getting rid of infestations. And when we get requests to remove tree of heaven, or you have developers who are going to kind of clear cut what's there, I wish we would give them guidance that we could kind of like hold people a little bit more accountable to removing it properly, so it's not destroying the whole street when they remove it improperly and then everyone else gets like 100 trees of heaven because of it. So I don't know if anyone else had taken a chance to read the guidance, or if there's any feedback on it outside of the one person who emailed me.
Where is this guidance located?
I emailed it out to the committee members, Alex. We haven't gotten it because we haven't voted on it as a committee yet. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Is it, remember the date you sent it out, Vanessa?
I've been sending it out with the last few minutes or agendas.
Okay.
But I will say I followed the Penn State guidance for this. So they're like by far the most experience with it. They got it first. They've done the most research on it. They've tried to remove it tons and tons and tons of different ways. They've tried a lot of different herbicides. So this really does tend to follow with what they recommend. So it has some pictures of how to identify it because it does have some lookalikes. It looks a lot like sumac and a little bit like black walnut. I don't want people trying to take out things that are native for sure. And then there's different ways of recommending removing it based on the kind of the size. Like if it's become a giant tree where it doesn't die every season and then grow back, it has like a giant trunk, it loses its leaves, and now it really has become a permanent tree. You would need to take like a hack and squirt approach. If it's a lot smaller, these, maybe like 60 of the trees over here, like really small, you would need to paint the bottom of the bark without dripping it into the ground because you don't want to spread it more than you need. And then if it's really, really tiny, you could do a foliar approach and spray all the leaves.
Allison, one thing that I immediately see, and I hadn't looked at it earlier, I'm sorry, but is that, as you know, like sometimes you can't tell the difference between a root sucker and a full and a seedling, a sapling or whatever. But like there are, I mean, I get little seedlings in my yard even, and I see them in my neighborhood and whatever. And I think I would like helping people to tell the difference between a seedling that, and I don't think there's any reason not to pull the seedlings, right? I mean, like,
I don't think you can really tell. And I do think that if you like pull a seedling and the whole thing comes up and you got all the roots, or you're sitting there with a spade, like I'm a lead for the Miyawaki forest. We've had 4 tree of heavens pop up there.
Yeah.
We've definitely gotten all the roots. So like, yes, the mechanical can work if it's very small, but there's a lot of properties like me where when trees of heaven pop up, they are not seedlings. They are coming from the mother.
Right. But I think one of the things that would be helpful would be to try to help people figure out how to tell the difference. Because we definitely want, I think, I don't know, maybe not, and this is like something to learn, but like I think we definitely want people getting rid of all the seedlings. Because like if we don't have to have a grown tree of heaven that we then murder over the course of 3 years, we should avoid it, you know? So, but like trying to figure out the difference between the two would be very good. And also there are places where they're like growing out of sidewalk cracks and stuff like that. And it's like, what, knowing a little bit more about when is it a good idea to just pull it and when are you risking creating a bigger problem? So like, you know, if it's this tall, it's probably a seedling, or if you pull and it very easily comes out, versus if you pull and it gives you a lot of resistance or something like that.
Do I see anybody? I think those are really both really good points. I have a lot of pictures of seedlings of tree of heaven, like when they're just really tiny, and they're very identifiable because they're so small. And I'm happy to share, Allie, pictures with you of that, if that maybe addresses Marion's concerns, like, you know, teeny tiny when the first cotyledons, you know, which are the very first seedlings, I mean, leaves that sprout. And then it's also like, well, it might be small and just coming, you know, just coming up from a runner of a mother tree. But I do have pictures that I'll just share with you right now, Allison. Would that make sense, Marion, to you?
Yeah, I think it would be, I mean, like, but I think it's not just, I mean, like, obviously that really, really tiny, when it is absolutely impossible to miss that it's a seedling, but we should still have a picture just so people can see it. But also I think just like, because otherwise it is very easy for people to read. I mean, and I see the exact same thing with Japanese knotweed, you know, where it's like, people get so caught up in, you may actually make it stronger and more aggressive, that then people become terrified of pulling any of it. And I think that to the extent that it is okay to kill tree of heaven, that it is okay to pull it, we should make sure that people know when it is okay.
Yeah.
And what sorts of things are really like pretty good signs that it's probably part of a bigger thing. Like, obviously, if there's a bunch of them, or if you see a large tree of heaven within a few, you know, within 25 yards or within 100 yards, like certain things that might give you a sign that you better be extra careful versus not. Or also if there are seasonal differences or anything, like, I don't know, maybe it is always the case that you're likelier to do harm than good by pulling something, but I just would want to know and give really careful advice to people so that we don't end up accidentally telling people under no circumstances touch tree of heaven unless you're committed to a multi-year treatment plan.
Yeah, I hear it. Because I used to do it too. I used to walk up and down the bike path and just pull a bunch. And then I was like, I wonder if I'm making it worse. Because there are some big trees of heaven on the bike path.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, by the Davis Square train stop, someone seems to have put like a black tarp down under the oaks. And there used to be a ton of tree of heavens growing last year. And now it's like nothing else grows except the oaks. So that's kind of an interesting approach. But one that's probably hard for like individual homeowners to go after. Yeah, I guess right now it really just says if you cannot remove tree of heaven by pulling all the roots, go to this guidance. So, and that would be down in the steps for removing tree of heaven.
I guess I'm maybe the person that you're corresponded with this about, Allison, not sure, but yeah, I think much more robust section about mechanical removal and when it makes sense. I mean, I've eliminated tree of heaven from my yard. They were never like the infestations next to yours, or it doesn't sound like it was anything like that. And it just took a lot of work over like 5 years. I mean, but you know, it wasn't outrageous. It was 10 minutes every, you know, several times a summer or something like that. And it just got lower, less and less and less over time. And so for some gradation of, you know, what you can do on your own versus what you might want to call in a professional or something like that feels really important, as well as different, like there is, I know you shared that thing in the Massachusetts Audubon Society list of invasive species, and they had a whole page about ways, mechanical ways to remove.
No. Remember, I responded to that. They
Yeah, but
don't have a lot of guidance.
I just looked at it again and it's there. So I'm happy to point
Can
out
I
what
pull
page
it
it is.
up? 'Cause
Yeah, I can.
I did not see that.
It's where is it? It's called,
Maybe I was looking at a different spot.
yeah, let me find the share thing again. That's a basic booklet. And I'm sorry, I meant to look for this and share it with you prior to the meeting, but just been buried. So can folks see this?
Specific to trees of heaven, or is this just mechanical in general?
It's mechanical in general, so that people know how to apply it to the tree of heaven. Because there
I think
are,
that's the thing though, because if you look at the Audubon guidance for tree of heaven, they don't recommend mechanical.
okay, yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I guess, yeah, so I'm just stating my opinion.
Oh yeah, let's go to page 7.
But
here it is.
It just, it's difficult to mechanically remove. Yeah, so a little bit more about this, because, you know, most people that are members of Mass Audubon live in suburbia and we don't. And so the size of people's properties are a lot different, but there's also places that are completely invaded, like you're the lot next to you, versus people that have, you know, a few little ones that if they pay attention to, they can get rid of it. And yeah, so just some, I don't know. I guess yeah, along the lines of what Marion is saying, I would support. And then my other concern, and I know you know, is just the use of the pesticides. I mean, glyphosate is one of the only pesticides, we're one of the only countries that allow uses of it. And it's extremely harmful in many other ways. So I just don't know if we're solving one problem and then like creating another problem. And it also, pretty sure, I couldn't verify this for sure, but most pesticides also use PFAS as one of the inert carrying ingredients. And there's also liners in their containers when they interact with some of the inert ingredients, they form PFASs. And so there's like, it's not only what are those pesticides doing, and are they harmful or not, in terms of most, you know, there's all kinds of herbicide resistant trees. Tree of heavens are already super difficult. So like, do we want to make them like resistant to glyphosate as well, and not work? So yeah, so it's not that I think we shouldn't recommend it, but I'm wondering if, you know, if we can't trust people to mechanically remove a tree of heaven when it's possible because they're too lazy, I just wonder, like, can we trust people? And is it, I don't know, a good thing for this committee to recommend to people who are not in any way trained or certified to use pesticides to go ahead and do it, even though it's a product on the shelf? It's one of, you know, this is a 50-year fight to get this thing off the market for home buyers, for home use, because it's,
Yeah, no, I hear that too, because I was worried about doing it myself. And I think it would be hard to ask someone to like be the person who applies it all the time, every day. Doing it for 30 minutes once on a non-windy day with mask and glasses and fully gloved, and telling all my neighbors I was doing it and flagging every single spot where I did it and telling them for 2 days, like, don't let your dogs run around it. I took it really seriously, and I might need to do it like another couple of times until we can finally fix the lot next door. But it was like, you know, a very minimal amount, you know. So it's like I knew the risk, you know, like sun is the carcinogen, and you know,
Yeah.
like there are
But
risks
you
you
know
sometimes
that,
have
but
to
like,
take.
but you know, I gave my husband an example. It was rat stuff, right? It was in a jar and it was just putrefied eggs and garlic. He didn't read the instructions. He just went and shook it all over, right? And that's what most people do.
Called husband.
No, anyway, I'm just picking on him because we had this discussion before. But yeah, so that would be I'm just generally concerned about our committee recommending the use of pesticides except in extreme circumstances. So it kind of goes with that gradation thing of, you know, if you have no other choice and you can't hire a professional to do this, then, you know, maybe consider doing it yourself. Something like that.
Definitely agree, but there may be another choice. I
I'm
worked my
sorry?
last company, actually a couple companies ago, I worked with a micro injection system for trees. This was designed to slowly inject things like streptomycin into citrus trees to prevent Huanglongbing or green dragon disease and other blights, but could, you know, also be used to inject things like trees of heaven and other invasives slowly with a you know, specific dose of whatever, you know, glyphosate or triclopyr or whatever we'd like to use. It should be noted that if you use a small enough dose and it doesn't leach out into the soil too much, it does actually have a relatively short half-life. So we can use enough to, you know, perhaps chop the tree off at the top, lop it off, and then micro inject it just to slow down the growth enough. Hopefully it wouldn't be able to sprout roots. The company is called Envio Sciences. They're up by Fresh Pond, and they have a number of these prototype devices. The city could probably get their hands on a few for a couple bucks. They're pretty simple.
Yeah, I don't think I'm recommending that this is like something that the city does. It's more so when homeowners have trouble getting rid of it. I definitely think we could add like a section about mechanical and indicate if you're very certain that this is a seedling, you can remove all the roots. But if it seems like this becomes year 2 or year 3 growth where you can't pull it up, here's how you would do it with herbicides.
We might also, I mean, like I just literally Googled like alternatives to glyphosate for tree of heaven, and I have no idea whether they work, but there are alternatives that
There
people
are
can try.
alternatives, yes, and but they're not quite as effective when you do research on it. So that's another thing. It's like we can all try to treat it now, but the problem keeps growing. Or we can try to treat it in what has been kind of proven to be the most effective way and try to prevent it from getting out of control.
Okay, I see Leah and Michael, or Michael and Leah.
Yeah, just really quick. Jennifer Clifford, previous committee member, emailed us a few of us ahead of the committee meeting. She wasn't able to attend, but wanted to let us know that Earthwise Aware and Green and Open Somerville are also working on raising awareness about invasive species removal, and did present, I think Jennifer came to present earlier this year about an invasive plant species management initiative to the city. So that would be something different, but also parallel. And Alexander's comment made me think of that. But could I forward this to Allie? This email to Allie, just connect you guys. And yeah, and you can go from there. Just want to share. But yeah, echoing everything else. Don't want to talk too much.
Michael.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts. One, I think, is recognizing that Elliot framed this as like guidance for kind of residents. I think coming from this committee, like I don't know enough. I would be uncomfortable. I think it comes down to like, what is this committee comfortable for, like recommending glyphosate or not? I think for me, all the concerns are like, you know what, I'm not even sure, even if it's to fight Tree of Heaven, I want to like endorse it or mention it. Recognizing that, Ellie, what you're saying is like, it might just be the best thing. I think there's debate around this. But I think the second thing I wanted to raise is like, I think there's a lot of really good information in this document that Allie's put together. And I think it sounds like most people are good with most of it. So like erring on the side of like, let's try not to wait too long before we put this out if people are comfortable with it. It sounds like there's a lot of sections that people are comfortable with, and there's like mainly a couple sticking points around glyphosate and like mechanical removal. And I think this committee and Ally can decide like we don't have to go into detail. Like we could leave it as simple as like, hey, unless you're a trained professional, you really shouldn't consider doing this without doing it. Like we don't have to go into all the details. I think the guidance is as much as the committee feels comfortable making. So I'd say I feel like it sounds like there is this two main points around like glyphosate and mechanical. And I think there's different ways to handle that. We don't have to say exactly what people could do. There's other layers of like hedging, saying you should talk to a professional, like things like that. So just saying we don't have to come up with the end all be all, here's the right way. But that's just my 2 cents there. I think what Ali's put together is really awesome, and we should, as a committee, if we find like some place that we're comfortable, either because we're not going into as much detail or because we feel like it strikes the right balance, and I'd love to put that out at some point, but want to recognize people have some different views I've heard.
Robert, you unmuted? Did you unmute first?
Yeah, just Michael's comments just making me think that maybe it's not a happy medium, but there could be a reference of the Penn State research that Ally has relied on, maybe directing people to that. Then we're not giving the specific advice, or the committee isn't, but the committee is saying this is a reputable and valuable resource that you might go to and use. That just dawned on me. That's all.
Yeah, I think we could absolutely do that. If we didn't feel comfortable being the ones to say, we probably need to use an herbicide, we can say this is kind of this is a source that we would recommend because they've done so much research on it. But I would hate to tell people, like, for the city's guidance to be like, wow, this is a huge problem. Try to go after it mechanically, or go see the Penn State guidance. And then we don't actually give people like what they need. Like if like I tried to go after it mechanically, I've been spending like a year on it, 2 years now, dealing with this neighbor. And it really just made it worse. I like wasted a lot of time by trying to do it mechanically last year.
Vanessa and Doris?
Thanks. Yeah, this is an awful lot of work. Very impressive document. I think it's super helpful. One thing, well, I have like 3 questions, but maybe like talking about herbicide, I'm okay with it, with the caveats of like try mechanical in the right circumstance first and then do herbicide safely. I'm wondering, in the document at the end, there's detailed herbicide treatment application instructions, maybe something like that, where we're going into detail is an unnecessary step for this document, and the link to the extension would be enough, but I'm curious how similar the extension page is. Like, have you condensed this into a much easier to use format than you found, or is this kind of like copy paste and change the colors or something, yeah.
Yeah, the pictures that are used in the methods do come from the Penn State extension. This is where like I kind of understand the desire to like go for mechanical first. The Penn State extension does not recommend that. They think you're wasting time. So I try to just like follow Penn State without being like, I'll just do my own thing. This is the Ally approach. This is like the Penn State approach. So yes, I do think that we could remove the methods and refer them to the Penn State guidance, and they would get as much information there as they would here.
As long as it's like similarly easy to digest, because I remember you mentioning too, you were even trying to follow your own guidance document and it was challenging. I think if I remember correctly, you said that at the Arbor Day event, they had to like put a list together. Maybe that was already on here. That was one of my other questions. Like, since you've probably used this document, did you find it easy to use?
I think I did tweak it to add a suggested shopping list to make it easier, because when I went to go try to find it, I couldn't buy it at the Cambridge Ace because they're not allowed to sell it. I had to go to the Somerville Home Depot, and there was only one brand that had it. So it was very hard.
I see. I see.
So
Yeah, it's a
otherwise it's
Google
better
Doc. So
you
you
go to
did.
like Amazon. So I was like,
Got you.
I'll make it a shopping list so people can take it to the store.
Okay, so you did already update this after that. I see. Cool.
I do
Hmm.
think though, I want to really reiterate that like we don't want to discourage mechanical pulling in places that are not like, it is such a different situation when you literally live next door or near a tree that is sending out suckers versus when you're getting seedlings from little seeds of and like they do send out a lot of seeds and they do propagate, and so like we don't, and also like preventing them from blooming and preventing them from sending more seed is a good thing. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to thanks Alexander for what you put in the chat. Epsom salt, it's great to kill lots of things. So thanks for that. And Allison, thank you for all this. I guess one question I did have about, did you look at other universities for Penn State and not, I'm just wondering, like, they are the slowest to promote, one of the slowest cooperative extensions in the country to support any type of sustainable or regenerative agriculture. And so a lot of their money is coming from chemical companies, blah, blah, blah. So and it's not their fault. It's because we don't fund our cooperative extension anymore. And so I'm just wondering if you looked at other universities at Cornell, possibly some of the UC systems, if they have, if they have Tree of Heaven, I don't even know if they do, that might have more resources to think about it, not just like apply a pesticide, because that's what we do. And that's what we teach. And that's what we tell people to do.
I think I looked at SUNY. I think Breck had recommended that last time, but it wasn't really quite extensive.
Yeah.
And I think it's only been starting to invade the East Coast recently. Pennsylvania got hit first. That's why they've had to do with a lot of research. They got like devastated by the spotted lanternfly.
I added a link to the Yukon page on it, but yeah, it's like they all have, yeah, I would expect that there would be a significant amount of stuff from New York though, because of spotted lantern. They're doing so much work on it right now.
I wanted to make one comment too, that I do think releasing educational information, if we're not ready to decide 100% on the recommendation, I think that the educational component is huge, because like thinking about black swallowwort, for example, it was just a vine that people saw and they didn't necessarily know that there were caveats to how to remove it and how to take care of it, and didn't even necessarily know that it was a problem, and we're letting it grow. And I think Tree of Heaven is potentially more known, but there still probably are a lot of folks who like just let them grow and don't know. I don't know. I think that there is some value in sharing the information, and I think the benefit of adding those kind of like scenarios, like, do you see a bunch of little trees under a large tree, or is it a flyaway in your garden, and should you pluck it right away? And then in addition to this larger guidance, I think I just wanted to echo, I think, Michael's thought of like, I do think there is value to sharing it, even if we can't agree right now, like at the very least pushing to get some information out.
Okay, I'm seeing
like I could take out the detailed steps, because like I said, I do feel like those come from the Penn State extension, and so we can refer it there. So then the document becomes a lot more about how to identify it and why it's so bad. Put a few scenarios where mechanical might be appropriate, but kind of a caveat that it's often not effective. And if it's not effective for you, this is how you like refer to the Penn State extension. Would those be reasonable changes to make to the document?
Leah, I see you.
That sounds good to me. And if I could suggest a timeline of maybe having a draft for our next meeting that we can vote on as a handout that can be printed, but also maintaining this as a live document that can change and evolve as we learn things, I think is super helpful. And I know we have an upcoming outreach event, and I think it would be really wonderful to have a handout or something we can share with people that we meet and start to talk about this more at our tabling events. So I think that would be great. But I also think it should keep living on because, you've been experimenting for a few years. As we get the word out, other people will continue experimenting, and it can evolve to be a very specific to Somerville guide, which I think is very useful. So yeah, thanks for all of your work.
Would it be
Yes.
helpful to try to make like a one-page executive summary as well, if we wanted it to be an easy thing to take away? So maybe you could go to the city's site to get a more detailed guide, but if you just want to take a handout with you and come up to a booth,
Yeah, we could
it's a
probably
little more
do,
digestible.
we can do double-sided printing, right, Vanessa? So yeah, if we could shoot for a one-page front and back and focus on the things that we just talked about so we can get the word out there in more people's hands and then include a few links, I think that would be great.
Okay, I appreciate all of the thoughts, and I will work on that. That should not take too long.
And I just looked, we do have one more meeting before the Monster Mash Summer Streets, but I think we should, in the interest of time, make sure we have some people who can attend the Monster Mash because I know Vanessa signed us up for it.
Yeah. It's on October 20th, I want to say.
Mhm. And I just realized I can't attend, so I'm more
no.
interested to see if other people can. I feel bad I'm out of town.
What time is it?
Sunday.
What's the date? I'm
Um,
sorry.
October 20th. And the rain date, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Rain
Is
date's the
next weekend.
27th. I think
And
it's from 2 to
6, I think. I feel like these are 4
Yeah.
hours.
I could
Yep.
take like the first half of that from 2 to 6 if someone else could take the second half.
All right, we have Michael from 2 to 4. Do we
And
have
what
a
was the 10 to, what was it, 10 to 2 then, or?
it's from 2 to 6 p.m. So there'd be a 2 to 4 slot and then a 4 to 6 p.m. slot.
I can do the 4 to 6 slot.
Awesome, thanks, Dorothy. And then the setup, so probably getting there a little bit early to set up if that's okay with you, Michael. And then
Yeah.
Dorothy, if you are able to take up on the cleanup. And typically we get supplies from Vanessa for the event. So if Michael and Vanessa can coordinate on the pickup and then Dorothy and Vanessa for the drop off. And then if we have other folks, having 2 people there is really helpful too.
I can try to come to the second one, the 4 to 6.
Awesome. Thanks,
It might
Allie.
be a little late, but get there for
Apologies,
most.
I have a hard stop and have to hop, but Leah
Right.
and Vanessa, I'll email you about that.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks.
Michael. Great. Well,
Michael,
that's a great start.
yeah, put me on as backup. My health has been kind of, put me on as backup. At least I can get supplies there for once.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, and see.
I'll check my schedule and see if I can make.
Awesome. Thanks, Kala.
Allie, thanks for all your hard work on this document. And I think suggestions of a summary of a 1-pager or 2-pager to hand out is wise. So we are at time and didn't get to a couple of items. So let's take greening the green line like early on in the next meeting. And what else? Species selection and plant. We didn't get to fall plantings. Just if I can just ask a question, Vanessa, you sent out a document of what the wagon wheel, their inventory. Are we going to be able to make the 50% native street trees this year without planting ginkgos or like Amur maples?
Yeah, I don't plant, hardly ever plant ginkgos anymore because they don't do very well. I don't think I plant Amur maples. But yeah, the 50% is per year, I believe. So fall's always a little bit tricky, but I will make over 50 overall and probably in the 50 range for the fall.
Okay. And maybe you can report on that next week. Okay.
Sure.
All right. We are at time, so let us like to open this approval of the previous minutes.
I had one edit to the minutes. Sorry, there was one line that said invasive instead of non-invasive. And so it flipped the meaning of the sentence, I'm pretty sure. But if we can like conditionally approve on that swap, that's fine.
Yeah, we can say approve with one edit as amended.
Okay,
Any
and this
other
is
amendments?
This is for the August, July and August meeting, or just August?
Just August. We approved
Oh, wait.
July last
We
meeting.
did. Yes, we did.
It does say July minutes in the header.
Oops. Okay, 2 edits.
2 edits.
Thanks.
My eyes are working today. This is
They really are.
impressive.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Wow, very detailed.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
We have to roll
I
call.
think you have to
this
roll
one, I'm
call.
Oh,
afraid.
roll call. Yeah, that's right. Vanessa,
Approve.
Marion,
Approve.
Leah,
Approve.
Dorothy,
Approve.
Doris,
Approved.
Tala,
Approve.
Tori, approve. Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Seconded. Can't second. Whatever. Seconded by Marion. Thank you everyone for attending and your great work and your enthusiasm. And we will see you at the next meeting. Our homework is to work on bios, 3-line bios for who we are, why we're here, why, you know, what
Should we-
inspired us to apply. Is that?
Should we try to get a picture of ourselves either with a tree or with a native plant while we're at it so that we all
Yes.
have like cool, like,
Why not?
Yeah, get a nice campy picture of yourselves with a tree or butterfly pollinator or plant. And that's our assignment. Okay, thank you everyone for attending. We'll see you
Thanks,
next month.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.